Wushan Town is an ordinary small town in the Linley Kingdom, located to the west of the Monster Mountain Range, the largest mountain range on the Yulon continent. As the morning sun rises, a faint chill of early dawn still lingers in Wushan Town. However, nearly all the townsfolk have already gone out to work. Even the 6 or 7-year-old kids have woken up and started their traditional morning exercises. On the open space east of Wushan Town, the warm morning sun filters through the big trees beside the space, casting dappled light spots on the ground. A large group of kids, roughly 100 to 200 at a glance, gathers here. They are divided into 3 teams, each standing in several rows. All the kids stand quietly on the open space with serious expressions. The northernmost team consists of kids aged 6 to 8. The middle team has children aged 9 to 12. And the southernmost team is made up of teenagers aged 13 to 16. In front of this big group of kids stand 3 strong middle-aged men, all wearing short vests and coarse cloth trousers. To become a great warrior, you must train hard from a young age, the leading middle-aged man said coldly, with his hands behind his back and his head held high. His sharp gaze swept over the northernmost team, and the 6 or 7-year-old kids there pressed their lips tight, stared at him with big dark eyes, and didn't dare to make a sound. The leading middle-aged man was Hillman, the captain of the guard for the Baruch family, the owner of Wushan Town. You are all ordinary people. You can't practice the powerful Qi combat manuals like those noble lords. If you want to stand out and not be looked down on in the future, you must train in the oldest, simplest, and most basic way. Strengthen your body and build your strength. Do you understand? Hillman swept his gaze over the group of kids. Understood, the teenagers shouted in a loud voice. Good. Hillman nodded slightly with a cold but satisfied look. Most of the 6 or 7-year-old kids had a confused look in their eyes, while the teenagers' eyes were firm. They understood what Hillman meant. Nearly every man on the Yulon continent must train hard from childhood. If someone doesn't train hard, he will be looked down on in the future. A man's status is defined by his strength and money. Even women will look down on a man with no strength. They wanted to make their parents proud, be admired by girls, and live a glorious life in the future. 14. They had to become great warriors. They were all commoners and couldn't practice those precious Qi combat manuals. Their only way was to strengthen their bodies and build their strength from childhood. Work hard, harder than those nobles, and put in more effort and dedication. In the morning, the sun rises and everything is full of life. This is the best time to absorb the essence of nature and improve our physical potential, Hillman said coldly. As usual, stand with your feet shoulder-width apart, knees slightly bent, and hands drawn back to your waist. This is the Qi accumulation stance. When doing this stance, remember, focus your attention, keep your mind calm, and breathe naturally. The Qi accumulation stance is the simplest and most effective way to exercise the body. It is a method summed up from the experience of ancestors over countless years. Immediately, the 100 to 200 kids all got into the posture required for the Qi accumulation stance. Remember, focus your attention, keep your mind calm, and breathe naturally. Hillman walked among the teenagers and said coldly. At a glance, it was obvious that every teenager in the southern team, aged 13 to 16, was concentrating, calming their minds, and breathing naturally. Meanwhile, each of them achieved deep, steady, and smooth breathing. Clearly, they had all made some progress in the Qi accumulation stance. However, looking at the 6 to 7-year-old kids in the northern team, their knees were bent to different degrees, and their legs were loose and wobbly, obviously lacking strength and stability. Hillman said to the other 2 middle-aged men, "You 2 take charge of the southern and middle teams respectively. I'll go manage these little kids." "Yes, Captain," the 2 middle-aged men responded immediately. After that, they carefully observed the middle and southern teams respectively. From time to time, they kicked the teenagers' legs to check if they were standing steadily enough. Hillman, on the other hand, walked towards the group of 6 to 7-year-old kids in the north, and the kids immediately tensed up. "Oh no, the big devil is coming." A blonde kid with big eyes, named Hadley, whispered. Hillman stepped into the middle of the group of kids and looked at them. His face remained cold, but he thought to himself, these kids are just too young. They're far from ready in terms of physical strength or mental maturity, so I can't demand too much of them. But physical training is still better to start from a young age. If they train hard seriously as kids, they'll have a greater chance of surviving on the battlefield in the future. And when teaching little kids, guiding and attracting them is the most effective way. Forcing them will only backfire. Stand up straight, one by one, Hillman snorted. Immediately, each kid puffed out their chest and looked straight ahead. A faint smile appeared on Hillman's lips. Then he walked to the front, took off his vest. His muscular lines made all the little kids widen their eyes, and even the teenagers in the middle and southern teams looked at Hillman's muscles with envy. In addition to his almost perfect muscular lines, Hillman's bare upper body was covered with knife scars and sword scars, dozens of scars in total. All the kids stared at those scars with bright eyes. Knife scars and sword scars, these are a man's medals. Deep down, all of them admired Hillman very much. Hillman was a great level 6 warrior, a brave man tempered through life and death battles. Even in big cities, he was an impressive figure. And in Wushan town, he was a respected big shot by everyone. Hillman saw the eager looks in the kids' eyes, and a smile couldn't help but appear on his lips. What he wanted was for these kids to have admiration and desire in their hearts. Only then would they train harder and be more motivated. Let's add more fuel to the fire, Hillman thought to himself with a secret smile. Then he walked over to a huge stone lock, which weighed nearly 150 to 200 kilograms, 300 to 400 caddies. Hillman grabbed the stone lock with one hand and started swinging it very easily. The 150 to 200 kilogram stone lock felt like it was made of wood in his hand. All the kids stared with wide eyes and open mouths. It's too light. Rory, after training, if you have time, go make a few bigger stone locks. Hillman tossed the stone lock casually. It flew more than 10 meters and landed heavily beside a big tree with a thud, shaking the ground a little. Then Hillman walked over to a pile of rocks. Hillman took a deep breath, and his muscles across his body bulged visibly. He threw a fist straight at one of the blue stones. His fist cut through the air with a sharp whistling sound, making the kids nearby widen their eyes. Everyone watched as his big fist hit the huge blue stone hard and solidly. The heavy, low sound of the fist hitting the blue stone made every kid's heart jump. That was a tough blue stone. Everyone knew how hard it was. The blue stone shook a few times, then split into 7 or 8 cracks. Finally, it shattered with another crash, but Hillman's fist had no scratches at all. Captain's still as tough as ever. Rory, one of the other 2 middle-aged men, said with a smile, walking toward Hillman at the same time. Roger, the other middle-aged man, came over too. Usually, when the kids practiced the chi accumulation stance, these 3 instructors would chat casually. They just checked from time to time to make sure the kids weren't slacking off. Hillman shook his head with a laugh. Not like I used to be. Back when I was in the army, I trained like my life depended on it every day and fought bloody battles on the battlefield. Now, I just stretch a little most days. No more of that old fire. All the kids stared at Hillman in admiration. He'd smashed that huge blue stone to pieces with one punch. What kind of strength was that? He'd swung that 150 to 200 kilogram stone lock like it was nothing. How much power did he have? Hillman turned around, looked at the kids' stares, and was quite satisfied with their reaction. Remember this, Hillman said, his face turning serious. Even without relying on chi, if you train your body to its absolute limit, you could theoretically become a level 6 warrior. A level 6 warrior can easily become a mid-rank officer in the army and get their hands on the army's chi training methods without trouble. Even if you can't make it to level 6, if you're at least a basic level 1 warrior, you're qualified to join the army. And remember, a man who can't even reach level 1, he's not a real man. A real man stands tall, faces any challenge, and never backs down from fear. When they heard this, the 6 to 7-year-olds couldn't help but smile, though they tried to hold it back. This was Hillman's catchphrase. He said it all the time when teaching them. Stand steady, all of you. Hillman snapped. Look at the older boys in the south. See how they're standing? The 6 to 7-year-olds immediately tried their best to stand firm. After a while, the little kids started to wobble. Their legs ached badly, but they bit their lips and held on. Soon enough, though, one by one, they fell and plopped down on the ground. Hillman still looked tough on the outside, but inside, he nodded to himself. He was really satisfied with how the 6 to 7-year-olds had done. Before long, some of the 10-year-olds in the middle team couldn't hold on either. They fell and sat down one after another. "Hold on as long as you can," Hillman said coldly. "I won't force you, but if you end up worse than others someday, only yourselves to blame." Huh? Rory suddenly looked at the northern team in surprise. By now, quite a few of the 10-year-olds in the middle team had fallen and sat down. But in the northern team, there was still one 6-year-old kid standing firm. "Is this Linley's first day training? He's actually this good," Rory said in surprise. Roger and Hillman beside him also noticed, and Hillman looked over too. By now, only one brown-haired boy was still holding on in the northern team. The boy pressed his lips tight, stared straight ahead with firm eyes, and his knuckles turned white from squeezing his fists so hard. A flash of surprise appeared in Hillman's eyes. "What a kid," Hillman praised silently. At only 6 years old, he could keep up with the 10-year-olds in the chi accumulation stance. Just this alone showed how good his talent was. Linley's full name was Linley Baruch, the eldest son of the Baruch family, the owners of Wushan Town. The Baruch family was very ancient and had once been prosperous, but after thousands of years of inheritance, only 3 members remained: the family head, Hog Baruch, and his 2 sons. The eldest, Linley Baruch, was just 6 years old. The younger, Wharton Baruch, was only 2. The mistress of the Baruch family had died after giving birth to the younger son, and Linley's grandfather had also lost his life in a military battle. Linley's legs trembled. No matter how firm his will was, his muscles, sore to the point of exhaustion, would not obey him. Finally, he fell and sat on the ground. "Linley, how do you feel?" Hillman asked with a smile as he walked over. Linley grinned, showing his small tiger teeth. "It's nothing, Uncle Hillman." Hillman was the captain of the Baruch family's guard and had watched Linley grow up since he was a baby. Their relationship was naturally very close. "Good job, you're like a real man." Hillman ruffled Linley's hair, making it messy like straw in an instant. "Hee," Linley grinned. He was overjoyed at Hillman's praise. After resting for a while, they started training again. The 6 to 7-year-olds had a much lighter training load, while the training for the teenage boys was extremely intense. The teenagers and kids all lay with their heads and feet resting on flat stones, their bodies hanging in the air, holding themselves up solely with the strength of their waists. The lower back and hips, this triangular area, Hillman said, gesturing to the area around his abdomen with his hands. "This is the core of your body. Whether it's speed or strength, it all comes from this triangle. This core triangle is extremely important." As Hillman spoke, he kept walking around, carefully checking if each teenager's posture was correct. "Lift up, don't let your lower back sag," Hillman shouted. Right away, many teenagers tried to lift their lower backs higher. This was Linley's first time doing this. He rested his small head and feet on 2 flat stones, but already he could feel his lower back getting warm and sore. Hold on, I'm the best," Linley encouraged himself silently. Linley had always been in great health since he was little, barely ever getting sick. With that plus his strong will, his good performance wasn't surprising at all. Plop! The first kid fell down, but the flat stones used for their heads and feet were only about 20 centimeters tall. Even if a kid fell, they wouldn't get hurt. Alchemists on the Yulon continent had established the length units. 1 meter equals 10 decimeters equals 100 centimeters equals 1,000 millimeters. Plop! Plop! As time passed, more and more kids couldn't hold on and fell. Linley bit his teeth hard. He could clearly feel his lower back was sore to the point of numbness. "My body feels so heavy, I can barely hold on. Just a little longer, hold on a little longer." By now, Linley was the only one left holding on in the 6 to 8-year-old team. When Hillman looked at Linley, a look of surprise and satisfaction couldn't help but appear in his eyes. "Rory," Hillman called out sharply. "Captain!" Rory stood up straight at once, waiting for orders. Hillman ordered, "Tomorrow, prepare some dye. When they do the waist training, put a small branch under each person's waist, coat the branch with dye. If anyone slacks off and their waist touches the branch, getting dye on themselves, their training task will be doubled." "Yes, Captain," Rory replied in a loud voice, but the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. He thought to himself, the captain sure has a lot of tricky ideas. those boys are in for it. And he was right. Each of the teenage boys pulled a bitter face. Usually, they could sneak small slacks, but once Hillman did this, they wouldn't be able to get away with it anymore. Hillman went on in a cold tone. I'll tell you this, when a warrior practices chi, the place where chi is stored is about 1 fist below the belly button. You should realize this is part of the core triangle. Now, do you understand how important it is to train this core triangle? This is the center. If this part is weak, training any other part won't help. A good instructor is crucial for kids, and Hillman was a great warrior. He knew the key points of training. He knew to take things step by step, and he knew what level of training was right for kids of different ages. If the training was too intense, it could break the kids' bodies. Chi. At the sound of this word, the teenagers and the resting kids all widened their eyes and looked at Hillman. All the commoner kids longed for chi, and even Linley, a child from a declining noble family, was eager to learn about it. Plop. Linley finally couldn't hold on either, but he used his arms to prop himself up and fell slowly to the ground. So nice. Linley felt a tingling sensation in his sore waist as it rested. The feeling seeped deep into his muscles, almost to the bone. So pleasant that little Linley squinted his eyes slightly. What number was I to fall? Linley opened his eyes suddenly and looked around. All the 6 to 8-year-olds had fallen. More than half of the 10-year-olds in the middle team had also fallen. But the 14 to 15-year-old teenagers were still holding on. Hillman still had a cold face as he spoke. Remember this all. Your body is like a container, a wine cup. And chi is like wine. How much wine a cup can hold depends on how big the cup is. Similarly, how far you can go in practicing chi depends on how well you train your body. If your body is too weak, even if you have a powerful chi manual, your body can't hold much chi, and you'll never become a strong warrior. Hillman shared this important information with the kids. Many warriors didn't learn the connection between body strength and chi until later in life, because no one taught them when they were young. But by then, they were too old for physical training to work well. Hillman took the lessons learned by many predecessors who had gone through many detours, and, through his teachings, quietly planted these important experiences deep in the kids' minds, like spring rain nourishing plants. He didn't want these kids to make the same mistakes. After training the chi accumulation stance, plus coordination exercises for the waist, legs, shoulders, back, and other body parts, almost all the kids collapsed onto the ground, sitting there exhausted. Hillman had arranged the training intensity perfectly. Today's morning training ends here, Hillman announced. Training in Wushan town followed a regular schedule, twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. Uncle Hillman, tell us a story. As soon as they were dismissed, some kids called out. Every day after morning training, Hillman would tell them stories about his time in the army or events from other parts of the continent. Kids who'd grown up in this small town longed deeply to know about the outside world and life in the army. Hillman smiled slightly. Telling stories to the kids was another idea he'd had to fill them with motivation for training. He always believed that only when kids actively desired to train would they achieve great things. Today, I'll tell you about the 4 legendary ultimate warriors of the entire continent. A look of admiration appeared on Hillman's face too. The kids immediately pricked up their ears and their eyes lit up. Linley, who was also sitting on the ground, felt his heart skip a beat. The legendary 4 ultimate warriors? He unconsciously pricked up his own ears and stared fixedly at Hillman. There was a hint of excitement in Hillman's eyes, but his voice remained steady. Thousands of years ago, 4 ultimate warriors appeared on our continent. Each had strength comparable to a giant dragon. They could charge alone through an army of 1,000,000 soldiers and easily take the enemy general's head. These 4 are the Dragonblood warrior, the Purple Flame warrior, the Tiger Stripe warrior, and the Undying warrior. Warriors are divided into 9 levels. I'm just a level 6 warrior, but I can easily smash boulders and kick down big trees. A level 9 warrior would probably be the strongest in our Finley kingdom. Above level 9 are the 4 ultimate warriors. They surpass level 9, stand at the peak of warriors, and are the legendary Saint rank powerhouses. Hillman's eyes were full of longing. Legendary Saint rank powerhouses can melt huge icebergs, make the endless sea roar in anger, bring down towering mountains, destroy cities with 1,000,000 people, and make countless meteors fall from the sky. They are invincible, supreme beings. Silence fell. All the kids were stunned. Hillman pointed to the mountain in the northeast. "Look at Wushan Mountain. Isn't it huge?" he said with a smile. The kids, still stunned by what Hillman had just said, nodded repeatedly. Wushan Mountain was 1,000 meters tall and stretched for several kilometers, truly a giant in human eyes. But a saint-rank powerhouse could destroy Wushan in the blink of an eye, Hillman said with absolute certainty. A level 6 warrior could only smash one boulder with a palm strike, but a saint-rank powerhouse could destroy an entire mountain. All the kids opened their mouths and widened their eyes, trembling inside. Unconsciously, they felt both fear and eager longing for saint-rank powerhouses deep in their hearts. Destroy a mountain? Hillman's words shocked Linley deeply. Before long, the kids left one by one, still in awe. Hillman, Rory, and Roger were the last to leave. As Hillman watched the big group of kids leave in small clusters, a smile appeared on his face. "These kids are the future hope of our Wushan town," Hillman said with a smile. Rory and Roger also looked at the group of kids. Almost everywhere on the continent, commoners' children trained hard from an early age. Looking at these kids, Rory and Roger felt like they were seeing their own childhood and teenage years. "Captain Hillman, you're way better than old Porter back in the day," Rory said with a sigh. "With you training them, I'm sure our Wushan town will become the strongest among the dozen or so nearby towns. An instructor's ability determines the future of a place." "By the way, Captain," Rory suddenly asked out of curiosity, "how do you know so much about how strong saint-rank powerhouses and the 4 ultimate warriors are?" Hillman smiled awkwardly. "Well, to be honest, I don't really know how strong the 4 ultimate warriors are. After all, they're legendary figures. No one has seen one in years." "You don't know, but you still trick the kids?" Rory and Roger were left speechless. Hillman smiled. "I might not know much about the ultimate warriors, but I do know this. Saint Magi, which are magicians who've reached the saint rank, can cast forbidden spells. They can destroy hundreds of thousands of soldiers and even an entire city. If Saint Magi are that strong, saint rank warriors can't be too far behind. Besides, telling the kids this gives them more motivation. Haven't you seen the longing look on their faces after hearing the story?" Hillman said with a proud smile. Rory and Roger could only stay silent. "Bye, Lay. Bye, Hadley." After saying goodbye to his good friend Hadley, Linley walked home alone. After a short while, he saw the Baruch family's mansion. The Baruch family's mansion covered a huge area. Moss, ivy, and other plants clung to its courtyard walls, which were full of traces of time. This mansion in Wushan town was the Baruch family's ancestral home, a home passed down for over 5,000 years. It had been repaired countless times over the millennia and still stood firm to this day. But as the family declined, its finances got worse and worse. In the end, they could only live off their past savings. Over 100 years ago, the then head of the Baruch family decided that the family would only live in the front courtyard, about a third of the mansion's total area. The back courtyards and other parts were no longer repaired or maintained, which saved a lot of money. Even so, these days, Linley's father, Hog Baruch, still had to often sell some family heirlooms to make ends meet. The mansion's tall main gate was open. "Saint rank warrior?" Linley thought as he walked. "Will I ever be able to become one someday?" "Linley," Hillman's voice called from behind. Hillman, Rory, and Roger, the last 3 to leave, had caught up. Linley turned around and said happily, "Uncle Hillman." Then Linley took a deep breath, looked up at Hillman, and asked anxiously yet hopefully, "Uncle Hillman, you said saint-rank warriors are so strong. Do you think I could ever become one?" Like most kids, Linley had that eager longing in his heart. Hillman froze, and Rory and Roger beside him also stared blankly. A saint-rank warrior? Kids sure have big dreams, Hillman thought. The Finley Kingdom has tens of millions of people, but not a single saint-rank powerhouse has appeared in hundreds of years. Becoming a saint-rank powerhouse, he knew full well how hard that was. It required hard training from childhood, family support, personal talent, and even luck. Becoming a saint-rank powerhouse was far from easy. Hillman knew exactly how much suffering he'd endured to become a level 6 warrior, how many times he'd danced with death. If reaching level 6 was this hard, levels 7, 8, and 9 were even harder. As for Saint Rank, he barely dared to think about it, even in his dreams. But looking at Linley's eager eyes, Hillman stared firmly at him and said, "Linley, Uncle Hillman believes in you. You will become a saint-rank warrior someday." That single word of encouragement made Linley's eyes light up instantly, and a longing, brighter than ever before, rose in his heart. "Uncle Hillman, can I train with the middle team tomorrow?" Linley suddenly asked. Hillman, Rory, and Roger couldn't help but look at Linley in surprise. "My father said," Linley said, unconsciously copying his father's tone, "if you want to stand above others, you have to work harder than others." Hillman suddenly smiled. He'd watched Linley train that day. Though Linley was only 6, his physical fitness was on par with 9 or 10-year-olds. He nodded and said, "All right, but don't back out later. This isn't just for a day or two. There's a long road ahead." Linley held his head high and smiled confidently. "Just wait and see, Uncle Hillman." This was a very ordinary morning in Wushan Town. In the days to come, the kids of Wushan Town would continue to train hard under the guidance of Hillman, the level 6 warrior. The only difference from before was that Linley, just 6 years old, was now placed in the team with the 10-year-old kids. Half a year passed in the blink of an eye. Linley had spent the warm spring and scorching summer training hard to build his body and strength, and now he stepped into the cool late autumn. By the open space east of Wushan Town, a row of tall poplar trees stood. Every time the wind blew, many yellow leaves swirled and drifted slowly down. The entire open space was covered with withered yellow leaves. The sky was getting dark. There were unusually many people on the eastern open space today, nearly 300 in total. "Today's evening training ends here," Hillman said with a smile. "But first, let's wish the group of kids from Wushan Town who are about to join the army." After the busy autumn farming season came the time to enlist. In this era when martial arts were valued across the continent, every teenager took pride in becoming a great warrior. Of course, many also wanted to be magicians, but the difficulty of becoming a magician was extremely high. Only about 1 in 10,000 people had the talent for it. With such low odds, most people didn't even bother hoping. Becoming a warrior was much easier. You just needed to be an adult, 16 years old, and at least a level 1 warrior. Meet these 2 conditions, and you could join the army easily. "Thank you, Uncle Hillman." 126 teenagers, around 17 or 18 years old, bowed respectfully. These boys didn't usually come for training. They were already adults with jobs. But Hillman had trained them since they were young, so he was like a mentor to them. Before enlisting, they had to come and say goodbye to Hillman. As Hillman looked at these lively 17 to 18-year-olds, his heart was filled with mixed emotions. He knew they were full of longing for army life now. But how many of them would come back after 10 years of military service? "I hope at least half of these 126 can survive," Hillman hoped silently. Hillman looked at the group and said in a loud voice, "Listen up, you boys. You're men of Wushan Town. Men of Wushan Town stand tall, face any challenge, and never back down in fear. Do you hear me?" The 17-year-old boys all puffed out their chests and stood straight. Their eager eyes showed anticipation for their future army life, and they all shouted in unison, "We hear you." "Good," Hillman said. His straight posture and sharp gaze had the unique bearing of a soldier. "You'll leave tomorrow. Prepare well tonight. I know your strength well. You can all join the army easily. I, Hillman, will wait here in Wushan Town for the day you return in glory." The 126 teenagers' eyes lit up. Returning home in glory was a dream in every teenager's heart. "Now, I order you, go back and prepare right away." "Dismissed," Hillman said sharply. "Yes, sir." The 126 teenagers replied respectfully. Then, under the eager and admiring gazes of nearly 200 underage kids nearby, they left one by one. Tomorrow, they would embark on a brand new journey. "In 2 years, I'll be an adult too. I can join the army then. I really want to live the exciting life in the army. If I stay in Wushan Town my whole life, it won't matter how long I live. It'll be boring." A group of 13 to 14-year-olds talked to each other. All of them looked forward to a passionate, exciting life. They wanted to achieve great things, be admired by girls, and earn praise from their families back home. That was their dream. "Linley, your father Lord Hogg has something very important today. Don't play with the other kids here. Come back with us." Hillman walked up to Linley. Looking at the boy in front of him, Hillman felt happy too. Linley was very smart. Under his father Hog's education since childhood, he had learned many characters and could read most books. Reading was a luxury. Usually only nobles had the chance to do it. The Baruch family was very ancient, so they had a lot of books. Uncle Hillman, I know. Father has told me 3 times today he's never taken something this seriously before. I won't play around here. Linley grinned, showing a row of white teeth, with one missing in the middle. Linley had started losing his baby teeth. All right, with one front tooth missing, you'll whistle when you smile. Hillman laughed. Come on, let's go back. In the front courtyard of the Baruch family's ancient mansion, after dinner, Linley was playing with his 2.5-year-old younger brother. Gidge, brother, hold me, hold me. Little Wharton looked at Linley with pure, untainted eyes. He took unsteady little steps, stretching out his chubby hands as he ran happily toward Linley. Linley squatted not far away, waiting quietly for him. Wharton, come on, come on. Linley encouraged him. Wharton's running steps made people worry he'd fall at any moment. But in the end, he rushed right into Linley's arms. His smooth, crystal-like skin was flushed red, and he looked up at Linley with big dark eyes, yelling in a babyish voice, Linley, Linley. Looking at his little brother, Linley felt endless affection for him. They had no mother, no grandparents, though their father and the old butler took care of them. The mature Linley loved his little brother very much. In Linley's mind, as the older brother, he should take care of Wharton. Wharton, what did you learn today? Linley asked with a smile. Wharton frowned in a cute way, thought for a moment, then said excitedly, Today I learned to use linen cloth. Linen cloth. A smile appeared on Linley's face. What did you wipe with it? Wharton counted on his fingers. First I used the cloth to wipe the floor, then the chamber pot, and finally, the bowls. Yeah, the eating bowls. He looked at Linley excitedly, hoping for praise. You wiped the chamber pot, then the bowls? Linley's eyes widened. What's wrong with that? I wiped them really clean. Wharton tilted his little head, looking at his brother with confusion in his eyes. Master Linley, your father is looking for you. Let me hold Master Wharton. A kind old man with a red, bumpy nose walked over. This was Hilary, the butler of the Baruch family. Besides him, the family had no other maids or servants. Linley didn't have time to talk to Wharton anymore. He handed Wharton to Grandpa Hilary at once, then stood up and walked toward the living room. Father, what on earth do you want to talk to me about this time? Even though he was young, Linley could tell this was something important. When he entered the living room, Linley saw a grandfather clock taller than himself in one corner. Grandfather clocks were quite fancy items. Usually only rich or noble families had them. His father was sitting in front of the fireplace, facing the burning flames. Every now and then, there was a crackle as the wood split. Huh? Why did father change his clothes? Linley was surprised when he saw his father. At home, his father usually dressed simply. During dinner just now, he'd worn plain clothes, but now, he had on an elegant, expensive outfit. Hogg had the unique demeanor of an ancient noble, a quality that couldn't be bought with money. It was nurtured by the traditions of an old family. A family with a 5,000-year heritage was far beyond the reach of ordinary families. Hogg stood up and turned around. His eyes lit up when he saw Linley. Linley, come with me to the ancestral hall. Uncle Hilary, you know about our family's affairs. Come along too, Hogg said with a smile. The ancestral hall. Linley was shocked. The Baruch family usually lived in the front courtyard of the mansion. The back courtyards were rarely maintained or cleaned. Only the ancestral hall, used to worship ancestors, at the back was cleaned once a month. It's not time to worship the ancestors. Why are we going there? Linley was full of questions. After leaving the living room, Hogg, Linley, and Hilary, who was holding Wharton, walked along the old stone path, covered with moss, toward the back courtyards. Late autumn nights were as cold as water. A cool wind blew, making Linley shiver, but he said nothing. He could feel the unusual atmosphere. Following his father, Linley and the others stepped into the ancestral hall. Squeak! The door closed behind them. A row of candles in the hall was lit, filling the space with light. Linley immediately saw the rows of ancestral tablets placed at the front. The dense tablets were a sign of the Baruch family's ancient history. Hogg stood silently in front of the tablets, saying nothing. Linley felt nervous. The only sound in the hall was the crackle of the burning candles. The silence was terrifying, making the air feel heavy. Suddenly, Hogg turned around, stared at Linley, and said seriously, "Linley, we have a lot to do today. Before that, I need to tell you something about the Baruch family." Linley felt his heart thump rapidly. Something about the family? What could it be? He felt a surge of anticipation, but didn't dare to speak. A look of pride appeared on Hogg's face. He said in a loud voice, "Linley, our Baruch family has been passed down for 5,000 years. Across the entire Finley kingdom, you'd be hard-pressed to find another family as old as ours." His tone was filled with absolute pride. Antiquity was something many nobles valued deeply. "Linley, do you know about the 4 legendary ultimate warriors in the history of the Yulon continent?" Hogg turned to look at him. Linley's eyes lit up. He nodded and said, "I know. Uncle Hillman told me. The 4 legendary ultimate warriors are the Dragonblood warrior, the Purple Flame warrior, the Tiger Stripe warrior, and the Undying warrior." Hogg nodded with a satisfied smile. "That's right. Now I'll tell you. Each of the 4 ultimate warriors represents an ancient family. And our Baruch family is the ancient family that carries the noble bloodline of the Dragonblood warrior." The Dragonblood warrior family? Linley's mind went blank with a buzz. To him, his family was just an old, declining one. How could it be linked to the legendary 4 ultimate warriors? "You don't believe it?" Hogg said with a hint of pride. "Linley, go take a closer look at those tablets. You can read now. Each tablet has the deeds of that ancestor carved on its back. The top 3 tablets are for ancestors who were all Dragonblood warriors." Hogg took Linley's hand. "Come with me." Hogg led Linley to the side of the row of tablets, near the back. He lifted Linley up. "Take a good look at the writing on the back." Linley opened his eyes wide and read. The characters on the back of the top tablet were deeply carved and clear. The ancient writing, which had survived for 5,000 years, told earth-shattering stories. Baruch, the first Dragonblood warrior of the Yulon continent. In the 4,560th year of the Yulon calendar, Baruch fought an ice dragon and a black dragon outside Linan City, and finally killed both, making his name known across the continent. In 4579 Yulon calendar, Baruch fought the Hydra Emperor on the northern coast of the continent. That day, tsunamis raged and cities crumbled. After a day and night of fierce battle, Baruch finally slayed the Hydra Emperor. He founded the Baruch family and became its first head, Ryan Baruch, the second Dragonblood warrior of the Yulon continent. In 4690 Yulon calendar, he defeated and tamed a saint-rank golden dragon in the Monster Mountain range, becoming a golden dragon paladin. In 4697 Yulon calendar, Hazard Baruch, the third Dragonblood warrior of the Yulon continent. Born in 5360 Yulon calendar, his first battle was against the saint-rank monster, Blood-Eyed Mane Lion, in the Sunset Mountains. He defeated the lion and chased it away, making his name known to all. Each great name and shocking deed made Linley's blood boil with excitement. "My family is actually the Dragonblood warrior family." Linley stayed excited for a long time. Hogg spoke in a low voice beside him. "The first 3 generations of our Baruch family were all Dragonblood warriors in a row. Once you become a Dragonblood warrior, your lifespan becomes extremely long. The second family head, Ryan Baruch, didn't marry and have children until he was over 700 years old." "What about later?" Linley asked in confusion. "Father, why are there no more Dragonblood warriors in our family now?" Hogg nodded. "To become a Dragonblood warrior, it mainly depends on the concentration of the Dragonblood warrior bloodline in your body. The higher the concentration, the better. As the family passed down through generations, the concentration of the Dragonblood warrior bloodline and later Baruch descendants became thinner and thinner. But it's not absolute. Sometimes, after many generations, a descendant might suddenly have a higher concentration of the bloodline. About 1,000 years after Hazard Baruch, the 4th Dragonblood warrior appeared in our family. Then, another 1,500 years later, after dozens of generations, the 5th one appeared. But in the more than 1,000 years since then, up to now, there have been no more." Hogg shook his head and sighed. The 5th Dragonblood warrior only existed on the Yulon continent for over 200 years, then disappeared. Over the past 1,000 years, our Baruch family has declined completely. Even the most glorious family can decline after more than 1,000 years. But our family still has hope. Hog's eyes lit up. Maybe one day, a descendant will have a high enough concentration of the Dragonblood warrior bloodline to meet the requirements. Once they do, decades of hard training will make them a real Dragonblood warrior. And our Baruch family can regain the glory of being the Dragonblood warrior family again. Linley, you're 6.5 now. According to tradition, bloodline concentration tests for Dragonblood warriors are accurate once a child turns 6. Today, I'll test yours. Linley's heart jolted. Test the Dragonblood warrior bloodline concentration? Test mine. He knew exactly what his father's words meant. This test would determine if he had the potential to become a Dragonblood warrior. Linley, wait a minute. I'll go get the Dragonblood needle, Hog said, a little excited. Then he walked toward the secret room at the back of the ancestral hall. Dragonblood warrior? Will I become one? Linley felt anxious. Standing there, his mind was in a fluster. He felt hope, but also a hint of fear that his bloodline concentration wouldn't meet the requirements. If I fail, Father will probably be so disappointed, Linley thought. He'd lived with his father and brother since he was little, and he didn't want to let his father down. But the concentration of the Dragonblood warrior bloodline in his body was something he couldn't control. Only a moment later, Hog walked out of the secret room at the back of the hall, holding a very thin, transparent needle nearly 20 centimeters long. The Dragonblood needle? Linley looked at the needle in his father's hand and guessed its name. All right, Linley. The needle will just prick your skin lightly. It won't hurt. Stretch out your hand, Hog said with a smile. Linley nodded, took a deep breath, and nervously held out his right hand. His slightly trembling hand showed just how anxious he was. It wasn't just Linley. Hog himself was also very nervous. Bear with it a little, Hog said. He gently pricked Linley's right index finger with the transparent Dragonblood needle, piercing the skin easily. Linley felt a sharp pain, and the needle turned from transparent to bright red. Hog immediately held the needle up to his eyes, trembling as he examined it carefully. Linley looked up, staring at his father without blinking, his heart filled with anxiety. Is my Dragonblood warrior bloodline concentration high enough? Why is father staring at the Dragonblood needle for so long? A bad feeling crept into his heart. Sigh. With a sigh, Hog set the needle aside. Hearing his father's sigh, Linley, who had been so nervous, knew his Dragonblood warrior bloodline must not have met the requirements. Tears streamed down his face instantly. Linley, why are you crying? Don't cry, it's okay, don't cry, Hog said, picking Linley up at once. Looking at the crying boy, Hog felt a pang of pity. After all, Linley was only 6.5, still a child. I won't cry. I won't, Linley sobbed, forcing back his tears. Father, I'm sorry, I let you down. When Hog heard this, his heart felt warm. He held Linley tightly in his arms. Linley, don't be sad. I didn't have high hopes anyway. It's been over 1,000 years, and not a single person in dozens of generations has become a Dragonblood warrior. It's okay that you didn't meet the requirements. I don't blame you. Feeling the warmth of his father's chest, Linley's heart gradually calmed down. By this time, 2.5-year-old Wharton had already fallen asleep in Butler Hillary's arms. Linley, now the Baruch family has only 3 of us left. Me, you, and your brother. I don't have big goals in my life. Becoming a Dragonblood warrior? I don't even dare to hope for that anymore, Hog said with a self-deprecating smile. After all, becoming a Dragonblood warrior was far from easy. Linley looked up at his father. He rarely heard his father talk like this. Usually, his father was so strong and strict. Hog looked at the rows of ancestral tablets, a hint of longing in his eyes. He said softly, my real goal is to get back the heirloom treasure of our Baruch family. Heirloom treasure? What is it? I've never heard of it, Linley asked curiously. Hog said proudly, our family's heirloom is the battle sword Slaughter. It belonged to Baruch, the first head of the Baruch family and the first Dragonblood warrior of the entire Yulon continent. Sigh, what unfilial descendants we have. Over 600 years ago, because the family was declining, the head of the family back then sold our heirloom just to fund his own luxurious life. As he said this, Hog's body trembled with anger. Sold the heirloom. Linley felt angry too. Even though he was only 6.5, he'd read enough books to know, no matter how hard things got, you shouldn't sell your family's heirloom. And from what his father said, that family head had only done it for his own luxury. Nullhog shook his head helplessly. Every family head since then has wanted to get back the sword slaughter. But even after 600 years of effort from generations of descendants, we've never succeeded. After all, the sword was sold for 180,000 gold coins back then. 180,000 gold coins. We can't even come close to that amount. And even if we could, no one would sell it back to us. They were an ancient Dragonblood warrior family, yet their heirloom had been sold. That was a disgrace to the ancient Dragonblood warrior family. Every generation had wanted to get back slaughter, but 600 years of effort had brought nothing. As the current head of the family, Hog naturally hoped to get it back too. But the family's finances were in terrible shape now. 180,000 gold coins? Even if they sold their ancestral home, they could never raise such a huge sum. The fact that their heirloom was still out there often made Hog's heart ache with shame. Shame that he couldn't face his ancestors. Seeing his father's expression, Linley spoke up to comfort him. "Father, don't worry. One day, I'll bring our family's heirloom back." "You?" Hog laughed and affectionately ruffled Linley's hair. But in his heart, he thought, "Linley, if only you knew. I said the same thing to your grandfather back then. After 600 years of failed efforts from so many generations, how could it be easy? After all, anyone who could collect the sword slaughter must be someone extraordinary. Would they even be willing to sell it? And if they did, could the declining Baruch family ever afford it? Father, don't you believe me?" Linley tilted his head and looked at his father in confusion. I believe you, Hog said with a smile. Father and son leaned against each other. The ancient Dragonblood warrior family had been passed down to this point, with only 3 members left. When would this ancient family, declined for over 1,000 years, regain its former glory? Meanwhile, Linley, lying in his father's arms, clenched his fists tightly.